Alright, welcome back. So, in between, we grinded a little bit, and we are getting our level 3 white magic. So, level 3 is actually pretty good. Or, not level 3, sorry. Level 5. Level 5 magic. And white magic is all pretty good. You can't go wrong with any of them. So, we ended up, I believe, going with Cure 3, Life, and Heal 2. The difference between Cure and Heal: Cure only works on one party member, while Heal works on all. Later games will kind of simplify things and just make them essentially the same, and you can manually switch to whether you're healing one or healing all. Which I do kind of appreciate. Simplifies things a bit. Not wasting spell charges on these. You have limited spell charges, so it always feels dirty to use spell charges on enemies that you really don't need to. Okay, so I believe we just need to head directly south from here. Yeah, it's kind of a weird peninsula. I don't know why, but the one to the north of us always reminds me of North America, and I don't know if that was intentional or not. Alright, let's head south. This is definitely one of those dungeons I'd recommend using a tent for, just outside. Just so if you perish, you don't have to do all of it again. Alright. Directly to your left is Giant's hallway. Every step you take, every move you make, I'll be watching it. No, every step you will fight a giant. Some giant encounter. We are not ready for that, so I'm not going to show that off in this playthrough. Just be warned. There's nothing, no treasure that way, it's literally just fights with giants. I don't remember where it starts, but I'm not gonna try and find out. And a lot of the encounters in here are actually the same, similar ones to the Marsh Cave, so especially on the higher floors. So that's why we're not really seeing a whole lot of battles right now. Why you keep hearing the music kind of reset. Alright, heal, woo. So I'm actively avoiding a mandatory encounter right there, right in front of that chest. For the most part, I'm going to be actively avoiding those, if I can help it. Sometimes you can't, sometimes they purposely put mandatory encounters in spots that you just can't avoid. And I swear the hallways are misleading, because there's usually like a gap between walkable path and the wall that kind of comes off as another spot that you can walk on, but you can't. Alright, so these are bowls. They're basically easier versions of the zombols that we saw at the Peninsula of Power. So, they're not undead, so you can't use harm on them, but they're fairly easy at this point for us. They're obviously not worth nearly as much XP as the zombols were, but at least show them off since they are technically a different enemy. Alright, so this is kind of a maze. You generally, I would recommend staying towards the top here, because the bottom doesn't really have anything. And that is kind of the unfortunate thing with this game is that they have multiple pathways, but there's usually a right pathway, because the other pathways just don't have anything otherwise. Alright, so we want to come into here real quick. Coral sword, cabin, and some gold. So I believe the coral sword and the dragon sword are basically the same thing. I think one of them just has a slightly higher crit chance, and since the secondary abilities of swords don't really work in this game, they're basically the same. So in theory, dragon swords should be really good against dragons, but due to it being Final Fantasy 1, that is not actually the case. Alright, so we got one regular ogre and 3 great ogres, which are just tougher versions of the regular ogre. And great. We targeted the one that we ended up taking out with Fire 2. Cool. Wasting time. This is the one annoying thing with this game. One of the annoying things with this game is the lack of retargeting. Terminated. Terminated. I will say, definitely keep your, the response rate towards, 5 or 6. Or at least anything other than 1. The higher the rate, the faster the text boxes will come up and go through. And honestly, you do not want to be playing this game at 1. It's so slow. And I believe, yep, that's mandatory encounter. This is Earth. So this is an Earth elemental. You cannot run from these. They are weak to fire. Contrary to what you might think, Earth is more like a grass type than a rock or ground elemental. Which doesn't really make sense to me, but maybe that's just my Pokemon brain. So ice isn't really what you want to use. You want to use fire on these. It can be a little dangerous, especially if you're low leveled. Put him shield. Pretty useless. So, yeah. Just some money. Which... And of course, that is a mandatory encounter spot, so stepping on it again will require that you have to fight him again, unfortunately, but... Okay. Unfortunately, this is one of those hallways where it's kind of misleading. You can't actually move left or right here. So we're just kind of stuck waiting for this dumb bat to move. Pushing on him generally makes him move a little faster, but... Alright. Leave after this room. Tent. We encounter something right around here, if I remember correctly. No? Oh, I think it's right around here, actually. There's one encounter that we run into that is probably one of the worst encounters to run into. in a dungeon like this. Yep, cockatrice. If you run into a big group of these, like this, try and run if you can, because otherwise something like that happens. And I made the stupid mistake not to bring any softs with me, because I was kind of hoping we could get through this without having to buy softs. But alas, and I don't have the soft magic, because why would we get that before the dungeon where we start finding enemies that can stone you? Stone is essentially death, instant death. You need a soft in order to get them out of it, which really sucks. Because nothing else will revive a party member that's been stoned. Not even Taco Bell. Anyways, and yeah, soft is really the only thing that will work. Especially since there's no other items that can do it. And it costs 800 gold every time that you want a soft. So I went and bought a couple. You don't need a lot of them, but it really sucks when you do and you don't have one. Alright, I don't believe there's anything up in that room, so that's why I'm ignoring it. I believe there's a mandatory encounter, yeah. Because it looks like you could walk in those spots, but you can't. I will show this one off just because it's a mandatory encounter. And this is where I find out that using fire is, well, not this specific instance, but I believe at some point we do find out that fire is the best method. They hurt so much. Yeah, just a fire one does like double the damage of ice. So, man, they hurt. Cure really doesn't do much. Doesn't do enough. I'm sure in later games they're a little more effective because the intelligence stat isn't broken. Alright. We got the vampire. Blah. All living things were born to die. No one can defeat me. The vampire. What an obnoxious prick. So, at this point, we're pretty pimped out, so I'm not too scared of this guy. Yeah, it just misses. I think this thing has a little under 200 HP, so takes him out in the first round. Wow. How pathetic. Alright, so we need to grab this, the ruby, the main treasure that we need right now. Make sure to heal up. I really wish you could reorganize your items, or at least I really wish that the most important thing, heal, was towards the top. Alright, let's keep going on with the dungeon. What? Yep. This is the reason why I hate the Earth Cave, because of that. So, that plate there forces you to have to leave the dungeon to go and find a MacGuffin to remove it. I don't really know why that matters, but yeah. Alright, let's talk with this guy. Give me the ruby. Crunch, crunch, crunch. It tastes so sweet. Rubies are my favorite. Alright, who let the 8-year-old write the dialogue this time? So we got a great axe for our trouble, 620 gold, 450 gold, and what's the last one? A silver helmet. Okay. Alright, fine. I can be less upset now. Alright. Great axe, I don't really think is all that necessary to equip. I think that's pretty much just going to be used for money. I don't really find a need to use axes in this game. Swords are usually just better. But I will go ahead and switch over to the Coral Sword because, as I said, it has a slight, like, up 1% boost in crit chance, so it's just slightly better than Dragon Sword. I don't know what the special effect was supposed to be for the Coral Sword, though. Because, like, the Dragon Sword's pretty self-explanatory. It would, in theory, what it was supposed to do was increase, or be more effective against dragons. Not that you fight a whole lot of them throughout the game, but the couple times that you do, it'd probably be helpful. Tigers! More like baby tigers. Alright. Anyways, let's keep moving on. So it brings us out to this side. And looks like that cave is where we're going. Alright. You can usually tell when a place is not dangerous by this music. Generally. Not all the time. I think there is one or two places that have this music that are dangerous. But for the most part. Use this rod behind the vampire's room. Hiding deep inside, you will find the cause of the Earth's rot. Fuck you. What an asshole. This guy is the same guy from Zelda 2 at the very end that gives you the piece of the Triforce, but only after you fight Shadow Link. It's essentially the same guy, right? I love when you go into your menu, the stone disappears. Yeah, I don't like this dungeon for this specific reason. Yep. You have to, like, go into your items and use it. You can't just, like, interact with it. And it works. Alright. And as always, I do have a map on standby, just to make this easier. Because fumbling around, trying to figure out archaic level design is not really something that I really want to do. Especially in a JRPG, where I'm just trying to get from point A to point B. correctly, there's something right here. But I am smarter than this. I think I was trying to decide if that was an actual walkable path or not. Alright. Towards the bottom, it's just more maze-like stuff. It's not actually a... There's nothing down there, so... I do find if you're, like, pushing into the bath, you're less likely to run into encounters. I don't know if that's the case, or if it's just more of my luck to not run into stuff. Cabin. I want to know how they fit an entire cabin in one of these chests. I guess the more important question is, how are we able to carry so many? We're getting all of our silver weapons here, wow. Love how our monk is just our pack mule. No offense, Carrie. I mean, Karina. You're just so strong. Alright. Let's see here. I think we need to go north, and that will take us to the next floor. Yep. Alright, so this is the final floor. You can tell by the bats. And I don't think there's any other treasure. The fiend's ball cracks open, and an ominous cloud rises, and an evil shape congeals. It is the Lich, the fiend of Earth. Punctuation is not their thing here. Alright. Lich. Let's get some fire ready to go. I think harm does work on it, although not very well. Dang. I was really hoping we could get ice off before that happened. So a lot of the bosses do have set rotations for their magic. So that's why I was trying to get ice off first. To kind of deal with that attack. Need to make sure Khan doesn't bite the dust here. Oof. Instantly wakes back up. The only annoying part about that is that Luke does lose his turn when that happens, even if he wakes back up. Which is really dumb. But, oh well. I always like when you get fast off first. That way it actually matters. Okay, so if I remember correctly, he uses fast, and then I think the next one would be lightning. Although, if I remember correctly, nope, never mind. We do not finish him off this round. It might be this round, actually. Terminated. I honestly dislike that Fire 2 ended up doing more damage than Fire 3. I don't know why that would happen. So, alright. Step right here. We purify the crystal or whatever. Then take one more step forward onto the teleporter, and we are out of the dungeon. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next part.